He's Professor of Law at King's College London. Good to have you here. And what strikes me whenever we talk about this is that, you know, they are very conflicting interests. The priorities and needs of customers are so at odds with the shareholders, the banks and the finance people at a utility that they will never see eye to eye. And that's the fundamental issue here, isn't it?
Yes, you can either have clean water or you can have privatised water, but you can't have both. Absolutely right, 90% of cities around the world have water in public ownership. We've had over £85 billion paid to shareholders since privatisation of the water companies. At Thames Water, it's been about £10 billion to shareholders alone, an extra £13 billion going to banks who hold the debt. And funnily enough, maybe not a coincidence, about £23 billion is needed in infrastructure repairs at Thames Water. And, you know, looking at all this, the private equity bidder from America, KKR, has pulled out this morning, probably because they've calculated that they're not going to be able to extract as much money as they'd hoped from bill payers. They, by the way, are known as the original corporate raider. They specialise in asset stripping, so it's probably a good thing that KKR, its bid has been dropped, but the government really needs to use its existing powers, strip failing water companies of their licences and transfer in an orderly way to public ownership.
I mean, it's interesting that you talk about asset stripping. I mean, if this was any other industry, we would talk about, you know, some private company coming in, loading up the company with debt, taking the money out and then walking away. You know, and when you lay out those numbers like that, is it as simple as saying that that 10 billion that went to shareholders or the 13 billion that then went to bondholders, is it as simple as saying that money would have been reinvested in the business if it was in public hands?
The public sector, if it owned, would not be taking money out and giving it to shareholders of banks. So, you know, I suppose there's a theory that has been around since Thatcher's time that, you know, the government, the business of government shouldn't be the government of business, that government is always going to be worse than the private sector, even if it's a natural monopoly and you don't have competition. But this has always been an evidence-free theory. So Paris took its water back into public ownership after being privatised in 2009 and has done significantly better for it. Berlin, same story, was privatised, it was a mess. They brought it back into public ownership in 2013. So, you know, we're at a stage where about a third of our bills is really just going to service debt, which wouldn't need to be there. The Treasury is worried about having to pay money if it brings water into public ownership, but it's been using this as a justification. It would cost too much based on research from the water companies. Ministers have been quoting a figure of 99 billion to bring water back into public ownership. It's just not actually accurate. The real value in market value of water companies is somewhere between, you know, half or a quarter of that. But in law, you don't need to pay market value for a company that's being nationalised. You can balance the figure in the public interest. And when you've got so much pollution, it would be a lot lower. In fact, probably close to zero in the case of Thames Water.
This is something we will talk about time and again, but good to have you with us, Dr. Ewan McGaughey there at King's College in London. Thank you. And we're going to stay with that issue because